Hello. I hope you all are having a nice Labor Day. But that being said, I'm here to talk to you about two short films I've watched on YouTube, both directed by Oliver Goodrum. They are titled This is Vanity and Iniquity. And I better warn you, I'm going to be giving some spoilers away in this about these two short movies. If you haven't seen these short movies yet, I suggest you watch them first, then come back and watch this review. If you'd rather not, I'd understand, but I'm just letting you know that there'll be spoilers ahead. Now, there are films out there that make you feel very disgusted just being a part of the human race. You just feel icky inside that this actually happened in the movies. And let me tell you, This is Vanity is definitely one of those films. It's a story. It is based on a true story. Well, I wouldn't say based. I don't know how based it is. It's probably inspired on some parts, probably loosely, but the story of a woman played by Lucy Brown and her mentally challenged daughter played by Sophia Farquhar, I think her name is, who are tormented by the hoodlum teens in the neighborhood. One of them led by Richard Crehan. And it's nonstop. It's just nonstop on them. She goes to the police. They do very little. It pushes her to her breaking point where, okay, the police do, one cop does try to help. He arrests the leader, Michael, played by Richard Crehan, who but doesn't hold him for long. But you thought the problems were over. Nope, they're not. And then she gets to the point where she takes her and her daughter, pours gasoline over the car, and blows herself up. If that's not much of a spoiler, that's really shown at the beginning. It's one of those few films that shows you how it ends, but it really, then afterwards, it shows you how it led up to that. Now, this did actually happen. A woman did blow herself up with her and her mentally challenged daughter because they were getting endless torments by hoodlums in the neighborhood, and the police did very little to help. What happened in the end, what I read up was, I don't know if the teens were charged, but the police were heavily criticized for failing to do so. That's about all I know about that story. And I gotta say, Lucy Brown was great as the mother struggling to make sense of all this, and Sophia Farquhar has her daughter there, and mother and daughter are named in the movie Angela and Tyler. Sophia Farquhar is Tyler. I mean, she was great. I read up on her IMDb. She really hasn't done much. I'm surprised. I thought she was really great as the mentally challenged Tyler. I mean, and Lucy Brown as Angela was great too. I believe they had this camaraderie with each other as mother and daughter. Richard Crehan as Michael. He really shows his dedication as an actor because he was just unlikable. You just wanted to jump in the screen and smack him because I realized what a douche he was being to these people. I mean, he really has that effect on you as an actor. I mean, and when somebody has that much of effect on you, it means they've done a good job. I mean, I'm sure the director, Oliver Goodrum, told him just be really unlikable and douchey and hold nothing back. And he really didn't. He held nothing back. Yeah, it's a very difficult film to watch. Just seeing this poor woman and her daughter get tormented like that, and very little is done to help. It's very hard to watch that kind of thing. How people with who are with mental disabilities are how they're perceived by other people, and it's not a good way to look at it. Just because she's different doesn't mean she's a freak. And and then I'm actually surprised there was a sequel called Iniquity. Oliver Goodrum said in an interview it is a sequel, but not, well, in a sense, in its own sense. It's a sequel, and then at the same time, it could be its own movie. The movie takes place a decade later, where Michael, once again played by Richard Creon, and it's pretty clear as you watch the beginning is that the tragedy that he witnessed, Angela blowing up her and her daughter Tyler, he witnessed it, and it's pretty clear as you watch the beginning of Iniquity. It's had a pretty profound effect on him. I mean, it encouraged him. That effect made him realize he turned how bad he is, and he has to turn his life around. And it's about a decade later. That's how it's said. A decade later, where Michael. It's pretty clear at the beginning that he still has nightmares about it, but he has a good job, and he has a girlfriend, and his girlfriend has a daughter, and he's on good terms with both of them. But the past for some never stay buried, and I really like Richard Creon's performance just as more in this film, because it really tries to humanize Michael. Just not to show that he's, he was a bad kid in the first film, but he really shows how he's trying to turn his life around, that he's not trying to be that angry hoodlum anymore that he was in the first film. But as the past comes back, it just shows you how the guilt's beginning to eat him up, and things for him start spiraling out of control. We do get a look at his dysfunctional family, and get a look at his past and how he became the hoodlum that he was in the first film. And it's clear that a tragic event can force you to take a look at yourself and force you to turn your life around. I looked up this film when I read the premise. A man tormented a mentally challenged girl, and past comes back to haunt him. But I was actually surprised that this was actually connected to the first film. And my favorite moments of the movie is not the moments where he gets his comeuppance. That's kind of at the end. That's in the movie, but in my opinion, I don't think it's their main focus. The main focus is how the guilt really begins to eat him alive. I like the scene with his girlfriend, when his girlfriend sees something's wrong, and he can't bring himself to tell her because he feels she won't love him in the sense that she did before. I mean, she won't see him as a good guy. She'll see him as a bad guy. You could just see how when she feels you can tell me anything, you just see the sadness on his face, that he's just deeply ashamed of his past. I mean, we all have moments of our past we're deeply ashamed of, some a bit more than others. And I liked Richard Creon's performance. He was every bit as good. Not to say that the other actors weren't bad either. Samantha Seeger has his mom in both films. It's clear that her character is more trying to be a friend instead of a mom to him. It appears that Michael didn't have any proper discipline in his life. He didn't have any... it's just pretty clear he doesn't have much direction. And that's probably what led him to become the person that he was in the first film. But the tragic event caused him to take a look at himself. And And I thought that was well portrayed in that film. And as the protesters at the end of Iniquity come at his house, start throwing stuff at his not his house, his parents' house, was it? Or maybe he still lives there. I think he stated he did. Start throwing stuff at the house. He starts to remember more and more what he did to this woman and her daughter, and then he tries to take one of the canisters and tries to light himself on fire, and he gets stopped. But we never get any. We just ended on that, how tormented he is. But will he have any resolution? Will they make a third short film, I mean? Only time will tell. But I think that it's really sad that this is based on a true story, and how much the mother and the daughter suffered for this. I don't know if the teens in real life, the real teens, who are probably now adults now, really have any guiltiness of what happened. Or maybe they're just too busy moving on with their lives. They're like, "Oh, we didn't put them in that car. They did that themselves. We were just being young and stupid." Yeah, they're probably not thinking about the consequences. So both films were good. Very uneasy to look at. But I think both films really, well, I think the Inequity is good too, because it really takes a decent look at the human conditioning. Really surprised Richard Creon hasn't done much. In both films, he really knocks it out of the park with his performance as Michael Shaw. All right, I give them both a 10 out of 10. Happy Labor Day. Bye-bye.